Hello, I'm Joseph McCullough, the creator of Frostgrave, Oathmark, and Rangers of Shadowdeep, among others. So I've been asked today to share my top 3 tips for wargame design for those who want to be wargame designers. I also have a bit of a cold, so I apologize if my voice is a little off. So my number 1 tip, whenever you set out to design a wargame, start by determining what is the core mechanic for that wargame. And what I mean by that is, what is the mechanic that contains the biggest element of decision making for the player? Because it's that element that's going to basically bring about the fun of the game. So for my first game, Frostgrave, it's a game about wizards, it's a game about spellcasting. So, as you might expect, the core mechanic is spellcasting. It's the question in the game each turn is, what spell is my wizard going to cast? Who's he going to cast it on? What risk is he going to take? How much of his life is he going to spend to cast that spell? This is the decision that the player has to make every turn and really keeps his interest in the game. It's what at one level makes the game fun. But every game can have a different core mechanic. So when I came to write Oathmark, which is a game about moving big units of troops around on the table, I wanted something that felt more tactical as a core mechanic. So the core mechanic actually became activation. It's a game very much about the order you activate your units in, about which units you choose to activate first, knowing there's a risk that they may or may not do what you want them to. So each turn, do I activate my elves, who I know are really likely to follow the orders I give them, or do I activate these orcs over here, who I know are a lot more effective if they get the chance to charge the enemy, but they may or may not listen to what I say. So again, every turn I'm presented with this question, and that question keeps me in the game. With Rangers of Shadowdeep, it's a little simpler. It's a much more role-playing style game, but every character, every ranger has a list of abilities, and they're all one-use abilities. So the core mechanic is about determining, is this the moment in this game that I use this ability? Because if I use it now, I won't have it later. So really anything can be a core mechanic. Your movement can be a core mechanic, and you see that in games like X-Wing or Gaslands that have very decision-heavy movement mechanics. So you have to choose which template to use each turn. So it really keeps you focused on what it is, on how you move. You can even have core mechanics that are outside the game. A lot of your traditional war games, your core mechanic is actually army building. So whether I take this unit or that unit, you used to see that a lot in 40K. They've kind of changed their core mechanic now, is moving towards the use of command points and that decision during the game of when I use the command points. So when you're starting out, have a sit down, have a think, what is your core mechanic? If you can't identify that core mechanic, you probably have a problem, and you probably need to start over and think about, what is it I really want the player thinking about during the game? So that's number 1. Number 2, establish a writing habit. And this may come as a surprise to some people because it doesn't immediately seem like part of wargame design, but it very, very much is. The truth is that most wargames writers are not writers in the kind of classic sense. They're not trained as writers. They haven't practiced a whole lot as writers because their main interest has been in game mechanics or in playing games. But the truth is, unless you can get your mechanics down on paper in a fashion where the readers can understand them, you'll never be successful. You need to be able to communicate your ideas in writing. And not only that, you have to be able to complete a large writing project. So most war games rule sets are probably going to be anywhere from 20,000 to, say, 40,000 words. And that's a big undertaking. That is not something you're going to sit down and do in one day. So you really need to get in the habit of sitting down at your computer every day and setting yourself a little goal. And that can be a really small goal. That can be, I'm going to write 200 words today. And if you can write 200 words every day, Then slowly over time, you're going to build up and you're going to hit that 20,000 words, or you're going to hit that 40,000 words. And the truth is, some days you're not going to hit that. Some days you're going to have to go back and spend the whole day reviewing what you've already written. You're going to have to throw a lot of those words away and write them again. But the fact is, if you do it every day, you're going to build up a core rule set. You're going to have that rule set and you're going to be able to modify it. And as you play test, doing little modifications to the rules is so much easier than trying to hold all these rules in your head before you write it. So get a set down on paper, play test it a few times, and then go back and start changing the pieces as you need to. And if you have that writing habit of doing a little bit each day, you're always going to have that time to sit down and make those changes, or to sit down and add that scenario you've been working on, or whatever. And the truth is that writing, like pretty much everything else in life, is about practice. The more you do it, and the more you do it in a challenging manner, so the more you're pushing your abilities as a writer, the better you're going to get at it. And also, the faster you're probably going to get at it too. So set that as a goal to write a little bit each day. Like I said, it doesn't matter specifically what that number is in terms of I'm going to write for an hour, or I'm going to write 200 words, or I'm going to write 1,000 words. That doesn't matter so much as the activity, the habit of doing it every day. So that's number 2, establish a writing habit. The third one, and one that people tend to not to like to hear, is embrace the marketing. The fact is, no matter how good your game is, unless you get it out there, unless you get it in front of people, it's never going to succeed, or it's never going to reach beyond you and your immediate friends. And the truth is, today, even if you get your game published by a bigger publisher, say an Osprey Publishing or a Modifius, you're still going to have to do the majority of the marketing yourself. These are bigger companies. They don't have time to spend a huge amount of time on any individual game. And the time they do spend is usually going to be things that you don't actually see. It's going to be talking to the trade. It's going to be talking to gaming stores and getting it in. So it's very useful, but it's not reaching out in the same way to that end consumer that you can as the game's creator. So when you sit down and you're starting work on a game, start work on your community building at the same time. Probably the best place you can go right now is Facebook, whether you like it or not. This is the biggest gathering of people on the planet. It's almost certainly the biggest gathering of wargamers in any place. And it's very simple to use. You can set up a group and you can invite people to that group, and people can join your group, so that at any point, if they become interested in your group, they can get in and they'll start seeing the things you're working on. They'll see people playing the game or play testing the game. So that's a good place to start. But also, you need to reach out to podcasters. You need to reach out to YouTube guys. Any way you can get that game in front of people. And I'm not saying you don't have to be pushy, but you do have to be willing to go out and talk to people, and you have to be willing to make yourself available. You know, it's all well and good saying to a podcaster, can you review my game? They might say yes, they might say no, but they're probably more interested in actually talking to you, you know, and getting you on their show, because that makes it interesting for their end listener more than just them babbling about a game. And so you have to be willing to go out and do that. You have to be willing to make videos for online conventions. All of these things. And I'm not saying you have to become a master of all social media. You can't, in today's day and age, you can't be on every form of social media. That's just not possible. There's too many of them, and you'll divide your attention too many ways. But you can pick a few, pick what I would think are the best ones for you in your situation, and really focus on those, and try to do your best on making those places somewhere that really highlights your game, and someplace that you as a creator are active. Because if you are active and showing off the kind of fun things that can be done with your game, it's going to make other people more interested in getting involved in that game. And that's really the key. It may seem like, what's the point of this? Only 2 or 3 people actually listen to what I said, and that may be true, but all you need is 2 or 3 people that then talk to 2 or 3 more people, and they talk to 2 or 3 more people, and slowly it grows over time. And it is slow. You're going to start small. You're not going to have a huge community as soon as you start. But if you keep working on it and you keep growing it over the years, at some point you will hopefully hit this critical mass where it starts to roll for itself. And you get people who are fans of your game and are willing to take on some of that marketing for you, whether knowingly or just because they're great fans and they love to show off what they're doing and how much fun they're having with the game. So that's the third point. Embrace the marketing. One thing I would definitely do is set up alerts, so in Google or Twitter or wherever, for the name of your game, so that if anybody says anything about it, you'll know about it. This gives you a chance to respond if there's questions, to show it to other people if somebody's done a really nice battle report or something like that. So just keep on it, keep aware, and keep yourself active and out there. As much as some of us might like to lock ourselves in a room and just be that writer banging away on the keyboard that no one ever sees, that's just not how the modern world of gaming works. People want to be a part of the community that includes the creator. So be willing to be that creator that wants to interact with his fans. And a lot of wargamers are introverts, so that may not come to us naturally, but it is something that you can work at and get better at over time. So anyway, that's number 3. So those are my 3 tips for wargame writing. Always figure out your core mechanic, establish a writing habit, and be willing to embrace that marketing. Hope you learned something from this. Hope it was enjoyable, and I hope you get writing and write us some interesting rules.